everybody, and we are back. 2026 is new year, new seasons of everything we're doing here at Go Indie Now, and it starts tonight with the late night news. Uh, and I have a wonderful, wonderful co-anchor with me tonight, Mr. Sean Hillman, Mr. SM Hillman. Uh, I introduced you for yourself, so I don't know if you want to just say hello, but
Hello and happy New Year, everybody. It's good to be here. Venessa was not feeling well, so like your weekend anchor, I'm here on the weekday.
We're very happy that you are, sir. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for everybody out there. Hello, Anita. Nice to see you. Yeah, welcome to a new year with the same old shit.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about some dastardly things that dastardly people are doing, and then what we're going to do about them. Apparently, and it all starts tonight with our wonderful friends at Amazon doing the thing that Amazon does so well, and that's sneak around our back and not tell us about something that they're doing. And it is very. They released a press release earlier in the year, earlier in December, December 11th ish, talking about how they have a plan to redesign the Kindle Scribe device, and it's for people who don't know, the Kindle Scribe is a notebook, an all-in-one with access to the world's best ebook store. It includes a 3-month subscription to Kindle Unlimited, as well as your latest reading features. Within this little thing here, this is like a 4-page thing, 4-page press release, and within it, you'd see this little paragraph below here that they just kind of nonchalantly snuck in here about how we're adding new AI-powered reading features that preserve the magic of reading on the Kindle. Stories so far let you catch up on the book you're reading, but only up to where you've read without spoilers. For endless curious readers, Ask This Book will allow you to highlight any passage of text while reading a book and get spoiler-free answers to questions about things like characters' motive or significance of scene. These features will be available for thousands of Kindle books in the U.S., and they will be able to access features on books you purchased or borrowed on the IO app later in the year and Kindle devices in the early part of 2026. Well, this all led to an article that was published at Publisher's Lunch all about this Ask the Book feature, where it laid out that Amazon's little breezy announcement of its feature debut describes it as your expert reading assistant, instantly answering questions about plot details, character relationships, and thematic elements without disrupting your reading flow. And you can highlight or phrase a sentence or type a question in a search box, and AI will generate an answer right on the page. There was a little video in the Amazon page to demonstrate exactly what this was. And that led to, it may not sound all that inoffensive, but as PL pointed out, Ask the Book is in effect an in-the-book chat box. You ask a question about the book, and a generative AI process finds the answers, which would seem to raise some right concerns. When questioned about this, Amazon was not prepared to elaborate, but did note that Ask the Book is not optional for rights holders. A query about what rights the company was relying upon to execute this new feature was not answered, nor did they elaborate on the technical details of the service and any protections involved, whether it was to prevent against hallucinations or protect against the text from AI training. Asked whether the rights holders could elect to withdraw from the program, Amazon spokesperson wrote that to ensure a constant reading experience, the feature is always on, and there's no option for authors or publishers to opt titles out. So this came to quite a shock to most literary agents and publishing executives who reached out to PL once they read this article, and then they were, most of them, baffled by it. They were not even aware of it, most of them. One publisher quotes, echoing the rights concerns, noting the need for both a legal and technical review to understand the process and protections Amazon is deploying, as well as the rights they're relying on to do this in the first place. And of course, this is not the first time that Amazon has rolled out a new feature without adequate notice of considerations of rights involved. Those with long memories will recall the early days of Kindle when in early 2009, the company rolled out a text-to-speech feature that would read aloud ebooks, trampling on audio rights for the sake of being able to do so. And at the time, the Amazon spokesperson said, these aren't audiobooks. Text-to-speech is simply software that runs devices and reads content. Simply software. Pushback from rights holders was considerable and immediate, and Amazon quickly conceded to make the feature optional, modifying our system so that right holders can decide on a title-by-title basis whether they want the text-to-speech enabled or disabled for a particular title. They denied any infringement, claiming the experimental text-to-speech feature was legal, and no copy is made, no derivative work is created, and no performance is being given. Yet they acknowledge, nevertheless, they believe many right holders will be comfortable with the text-to-speech feature if they were in the driver's seat. Well, there's similar pushback on this Ask This Book feature, as PL points out. Many people would deem the outputs of generative AI analyzing a particular copyrighted work as a very embodiment of derivative work or simply direct infringement. So agents and publishers broadly regarded anything to do with generative AI as a separate right reserved solely to the author, and publishing contracts are increasingly addressing this in the issue. The primary focus is preventing unpermissioned AI training, but with technology embedding itself at a warp speed in all aspects of the book business, the rights implications are expanding just as fast, especially whereas here they sneak under the radar. So this all led to Authors Guild chiming in, and they came in on December 23rd, and they made a statement, and they talked about their concerns with the Ask the Book feature. And they also agreed that the Guild is concerned that Ask the Book turns this books into searchable interactive products akin to advanced ebooks and annotated editions, a new format for which rights should be specifically negotiated, and given Amazon's stronghold on the ebook retail, it could usurp the burgeoning licensing marketing for interactive AI-enabled ebooks and audiobooks. So in creating a chat feature that allows readers to ask questions about a book, including analysts and summaries, Amazon is possibly creating a derivative use, not a mere search function. So Amazon has confirmed that it is using a standalone instance of AI model to answer these queries, and that these responses are based solely on the text of the book purchased by the user. This also may suggest that it uses RAG, retrieval augmented generation technology, though there's no confirmation of this. RAG uses for which there is a growing market are typically licensed. So the bottom line is that Authors Guild believes AI-driven enhancements to books must be licensed and compensated, and that Amazon's unilateral, unlicensed, no opt-out incorporation of Ask the Book into its Kindle sets a dangerous precedent for the future of licensing AI features. So on the 30th, Amazon has made some changes. They apparently followed up with the Authors Guild, and they said that now, after complaints that the chatbot was providing spoilers, the application appears to be limited to text already read, and responses now seem to refer to selected text. So when first released, the feature answered questions about the book as a whole, and provided analysts were more limited now, and often answering it does not have the information sought. So, as usual, Amazon fails to acknowledge anything that goes along with rights concerns, and just kind of made it out of thin air that, oh, you know what, this is really just giving spoilers, so we're gonna fix this. That's why we're gonna fix it.
Right.
But, welcome to the world of Amazon and its politics, right?
Yeah, this really has brought a few questions to my mind. The first one was, do the people does Cliff from Cliff's Notes, or whoever does Cliff's Notes anymore, are they going to sue the crap out of Amazon for essentially taking their job? Right?
Interesting. That's a good.
You can go into the Kindle now and get Catcher in the Rye or Moby Dick, and you can ask the the AI in the Kindle, hey, can you summarize Moby Dick for me? And then you can transfer that to however you want
Mm-hmm.
to your paper for school, which calls into question whether that will be which calls into question the authenticity of schoolwork and other work, right?
I also think how about this? How about this for getting into this involved in this? What do you think Webster thinks about this? You
That's a
know,
great question. That's a
because
great
this
question.
is essentially it's doing Webster's job, right? If you're looking for a
Yes.
word to define or
Yep.
the thesaurus of stuff, I mean, I think they're part of the RAG program. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that, but I do think that they have some kind of involvement with it because they're not stupid enough to not know that AI is going. They're going to incorporate some kind of AI. I would imagine within their dictionary functions online. So, but
Sure. Absolutely. But there's a big difference between an AI search. Hi, can you find the word
mm-hmm,
flagellant for me?
mm-hmm,
Um, and can you tell me what this character's motivations are?
right, right,
What motivates Moby Dick? Is it revenge, or
right.
is he just a dumb whale? Right.
He
Um,
says if Ask the Book is anything like AI, Amazon's AI summaries, there will be a bunch of lies and made up stuff.
right. Exactly. And how do you like? Let's take my first published book, The Language of Skeptics,
Mm-hmm,
is a collection of short stories.
mm-hmm,
And then you also have, Stephen King, for instance, uh, his short stories. Many people feel like that's some of his best work. And then all the anthologies as well. So how does this Ask the AI summarize an entire book, which is a
mm,
collection of short stories?
mm,
And what if or I'll give you an example. Um, if it were to read Bob, friend of the show, Magoo's Southern Saudade, um, many of the characters in that book or in different stories are named Anna, right? They all have the same name.
yeah.
Spoilers for those who haven't read it. Um, but some different characters. So if you say, "Can you tell me Anna's motivation?" Um, the
Yeah,
AI it's going to get confused. Well, in theory, it's going to get confused.
yeah,
But that's just talking about the technical aspects of it. That's not even touching on
yeah,
the rights,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Or what Elizabeth brings up, which is, I have concerns about Ask the Book's generative AI from a teaching perspective. I don't want a bot potentially doing the critical thinking for my students as I assign text to them.
right,
I mean,
exactly.
I know I work with a bunch of kids, and I know a bunch of kids who they live on Chat GPT for their answers. It's like, dude, I, it's one thing to look something up, but it's another thing to let it do the thinking for you, right? And
Yes,
that's
right.
you know, Amazon doesn't care about rights, and personally, I'm waiting for all the reader complaints the moment the AI starts hallucinating. Yeah,
Right.
that's something the author skill brought up. I mean, this obviously is such a infant technology that it is going to probably lead you down the wrong paths. A lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hi,
Almost every
Vanessa. Hope you feel
oh,
better.
almost feel yes, definitely feel better, Vanessa. Yeah, almost every test I run
Uh,
uh, on the Chat GPT or other AI things has come back with terrible results.
yeah,
Right, terrible results.
yeah. I've
Um,
corrected a few people on some of the things that they've come at me with
yeah.
that stuff. It's like,
Well, the AI said, well, the AI was wrong. It literally made it up in some cases.
and or it was looking at a reference that has been debunked, or it pulled up the first reference it could find, or
Yeah,
something to that effect. You know what I mean?
right.
So
Some
yeah,
Reddit thread.
yeah,
Oh, this must be the truth.
yeah. Yeah, I
It,
was having a discussion about the Earth being flat with somebody, and I'm just going, oh, man, I'm just hitting my head against the wall the whole
yeah.
time.
Um, you know, uh,
Go ahead.
the cynical cyberpunk writing and reading and playing part of me really wonders if this is, they've deployed AI in its infancy or these learning models, probably a better way to put it, in their infancy to have us, the public, stress test them for them. But also, it makes me wonder, because I'm cynical and suspicious, if they're designed this way. That is to say, whether it knows the correct information or not, it's designed to sow disinformation. Right? It's when an entire generation, whatever generation it's going to be, relies upon these AI, even in their infant and incomplete state. That's the death of information. That's the death. I mean, maybe the death of truth.
Welcome to ChatGPT, sponsored by MAGA.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a scary, slippery slope right now, and the idea. I think the thing that is really prominent here, and I think this is what this article is putting on, what the Authors Guild is really concerned about, and so are publishers, is that you can't turn it off, right? You can't opt out of it, and that is where your legality is going to get you in trouble, because it's happened. We've done we've done countless stories on AI infringing on authors' rights or artists' rights, and the outcome is that they had to find some way to opt out of it, and that has been the compromise, right? And so, and Venessa says AI is basically predictive, not intuitive or knowledge focused. AI answers are based on facts or correct information. Aren't based on facts or correct information. It predicts the most probable correct answer. I look forward to the day the AI tech bubble bursts.
Yeah. Well, that's I do too, but it's going to affect a lot of companies. AI touches everything.
Yeah.
Right? Even from small things as simple as predicting whether someone will, based on what I'm told, not based on factors like race and ethnicity and how rich or poor they are, solely based on their work history, whether they'll stick around for 30, 60, 90 days. But I'm suspicious of that too, right?
Yeah.
These tools are coming from a certain, largely from a certain demographic, and they're being pushed by largely a certain demographic, and it just it's a demographic that's never been about equality or respect for people who are not like them, and more to the point. The way that this messes up what is mostly the liberal arts section of, although it also messes up the math, right? It's not good at math either. Which are things that the people who are doing these programmings don't think are, or at least the people pushing the AI don't find valuable as far as education goes. They don't care about. They don't think that reading books is a good idea. They want people to rely on their technology and to work in their factories, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, and then Vanessa says, "I hope the AI bubble bursts before the potable water uses all the potable water on Earth." So, there's the environment thing about it too. Yeah. So, what as authors are we doing about it, Sean? Because you have an interesting article that kind of goes into a kind of step forward group that is helping kind of combat AI concerns a little bit.
Sure do. This comes from, let me get it correctly, make sure I get all the correct stuff, from the Alliance of Independent Authors in their advice center. And this is from Dan Holloway. Hello, Dan. Self-publishing news from December 27th. The Copyright Coalition forms to tackle AI copyright challenges. A very nice play on words there, I have to say. Dan Holloway of the Alliance of Independent Authors talks about the creation of the Copymight, no, it's not a typo, coalition. The Copymight Coalition sets out, according to an article on Plagiarism Today. I didn't even know there was a Plagiarism Today. That's kind of cool. With two principal objectives. The first is AI litigation. This would include lawsuits and takedown requests. And I imagine would be something that what we were just talking about would be something they would tackle. And the second is achieving collective licensing agreements, allowing rights holders to take advantage of collectively bargained agreements with tech companies for using their rights protected work. The Copyright Coalition aims very much at helping independent authors. The article notes the difficulties that indies often face on matters of copyright when it comes to having their voices heard. One of the Copyright Coalition's first tasks, it notes, is to drive increased registration of copyright in the U.S., particularly among authors outside the U.S. This is, of course, very much a hot topic after the ruling on the constitution of the class in the Anthropic case. So it looks like there is a group of folks who are getting together, and thanks, Dan, for writing this or for noting the article and getting in front of people.
Yeah, some good work.
That they are looking to advocate for largely, independent creators as well, because they're right. We don't have as much protection as, not that someone with one of the big four, for instance, has a ton of protection. But indies don't have as much protection and don't have as much experience. We don't have a lawyer. Well, we might, but I don't have a lawyer working for them to make sure that their copyright is respected or even noted. And
I
largely,
do, but it ain't cheap.
and I think that this, it's really great that these two articles together, because this is exactly the Amazon thing is exactly what they're talking about, right? I don't, I really rarely fully read the end user agreements for Kindle and publishing and stuff like that. I probably should, because they're always updating their agreement. But it's very possible that the language of opting out or not opting out was included in some sort of update that, let's face it, most of us don't read, and that's our fault. Sure, yeah, absolutely. As an indie, you have to remember you have to do a lot of your own legwork, if not all of your own legwork. But it's still a nasty practice to update end user agreements, and bury things like this in there, right? So hopefully this is something that Copymight, I do like that title, the Copymight Coalition will be able to help with.
Yeah, it's really easy to do too. They have a Google form on their page. In fact, here you go. I have the QR code right here. You can go right to it. Right there above us there. You just copy and paste that, and then go to it later on. Screenshot it, whatever you need to do. But it goes right to the Copymight page, and then right off of there, you can go to their Google form and sign up. And it's all free of charge at this moment. I don't know if they have any kind of tiers or anything that they're doing for special things, but I don't think so. I think they're nonprofit, so I think it's all good. But I haven't read too deeply into that aspect of it. I probably should have before this news cycle, but this is just something that was brought up just a few days ago for me. So I just been doing exploratory research. So, but yeah, the form is just like any other Google form. It's pretty easy to fill out, so I don't think it's a big deal. So,
right. And if we get any updates, obviously we'll update folks.
Yeah, I think that what this does is it speaks to the greater response of what we all are feeling, right? And I think that's kind of the hope, is that there's strength in numbers kind of idea, right? An aspect of that. And I think that that's really what this is really basing it on. I agree. I think the name is cool, but I do think that I also think that there's a lot of things that people aren't aware of, that are going on. There's several hundred lawsuits going on currently, and we passed on another article to do today about another lawsuit being reconstituted and more authors getting involved in it. Just simply because we've been talking so much about those lawsuits. I mean, there's so many of them out there, and they just keep going and going, and some of them are performing well, some of them are getting just shuffled around in the court system. But I think that's the other problem is that once all these companies start to band together and start to embrace this technology, like a big company like Amazon does, who has a legalities department that could eat all of our lunches. Just having a group that can kind of fight back and voice a majority opinion, I think, is very important.
Agreed. Right, and it shows you that there is strength in numbers. And once people are motivated, once people do band together, a lot of results, good results can come from that.
Yeah.
But it just speaks to also, as a creator, we have to start thinking ahead of the machines and the people who are doing it. What's the next thing that they're going to pull on us, and we have to be ready for that. And maybe even start, for those who don't want to be political, guess what you are, whether you like it or not. And it might be time for start pushing legislation, start really getting in front of even progressive politicians, and saying, look, this is important to us, right? And this is something we want you to address. So.
Yeah, I think the issue is that our world is so riddled with problems right now. This is the lowest thing on the totem pole. It's as cause and effect goes, it's only affecting our bottom lines. It's not affecting anybody else's. But so the average consumer and reader don't understand what this does to society, right? And I think I think education is going to be a key factor in all of that, right?
Yeah, and this is exactly right. It's absolutely true. And I think that it may already be too late in some cases, but there's a point where not waking up, you'll be too late, right? It'll not just curtail your bottom line, it'll destroy your ability, because constant readers out there, who may have good intentions of, well, I won't read AI stuff. When AI stuff is all they have to read, what are they going to do? Right. When AI stuff is all they have to watch, what are they going to do? Yeah. Right. When it's very expensive for the end user to watch a show or read a book or play a video game or play a TTRPG, that does not have AI involved in its creation, and their finances, their entertainment budgets are squeezed for other reasons in society. It's what do you choose to watch a free AI or read a free AI book, or not eat because you wanted to put money in Sean's pocket by buying his next novel, right?
Yeah. Well, you should always put money in Sean's pocket to buy his next novel.
Should, right? Yes, that's true. But I also want you to eat.
Yeah. We want there to be a happy medium, right?
Yeah, so. Right. Exactly.
And along those lines, that's funny that we're segueing this way. But so for the marketing tip this month, CL Cannon has graciously initiated my questioning. As most of you know, as I've mentioned before, in 2026, I plan on putting more of my own personal stuff out there. So I have a novella coming out pretty soon, and then some other things that I'm hoping to get out there before the year is over. So I was curious, I've done all this on my own for so long. I was curious how it's going out there. I haven't had to do any online marketing as far as books go, and I come from the days when you did blog tours and Facebook parties and things like that online, which are passe. So I asked CL Cannon, what are some tips that she can give those of us who are re-assimilating into the marketplace and looking at to get back into online marketing. So hopefully this helps a lot of you in that regard. But I mean, she's going to give you some general tips too that I'm sure you can incorporate into your marketing, even if you are currently marketing. So here is this month's marketing tip.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another monthly marketing tip. And today I'm going to be bringing you a tip prompted by our very own Joe Compton of Go Indie Now, who asked how to get back into the swing of marketing when we've been absent from the book world for a while. Things that used to work in the past are now like a distant memory, and catching up to new trends and figuring out what is actually working can be a bit daunting. So I'm here to help. The first question to ask yourself is, where are your readers currently most engaged? And also, what are your current strengths when it comes to marketing and communication? And what are you willing to invest as far as your time learning new skills and your money trying new approaches? Why is this important? Because no matter what's working for other people, you can't make it work for you unless you have some sort of dedication and investment. Once you've determined your strengths, it's time to do a little research. I want you to pick 4 authors who write in your genre or who write books that are very similar to your own. 2 indie authors and 2 traditionally published authors if you can. And I want you to stalk them on social media a bit. Look at where they're spending their time and their energy. Know how they're engaging with their fans and how often. Are they using video and images in a certain way? Are they utilizing meme culture? Are they showing more artsy or more behind the scenes content? Is the content they share long form or short form? Do they behave differently on certain platforms? Now, the purpose of all this research is to adapt these behaviors to your own strengths and your abilities in an organic way. I don't want you to just copy what other people are doing. I want you to learn from it and to apply it to how you interact and where you put your effort. Data is such a powerful tool, and sometimes it feels like you have to be rushing to kind of get everything done and to launch a book. But the best thing that you can do for a successful launch is to set aside time to learn, to gather information, and to implement that information so you can put your best foot forward. This actually saves you time in the long run, rather than wasting like weeks, months, sometimes years doing something that is just ineffective. Speaking of ineffective, if you try something new and it hasn't started working within a reasonable time frame, it's okay to try something else. Log your results with the first strategy, tweak it if you think that you can get better results, or just abandon it for now if it's not moving the needle. Marketing is ever evolving, and learning to keep up with those changes and trends is what separates successful authors from struggling authors. Now, what about paid advertisements? How can you know what other authors are doing there? There are some paid tools like SEMrush, SpyFu, and Publisher Rocket that you can use to find out really detailed info on how other authors are using ads, their category choices, and other anomalies that boost their sales. But if you're trying to keep costs low, you can still achieve this with a little time investment and a spreadsheet. For Facebook and any meta-related ads, you can go to the creators page and you can click About, See More, and then Page Transparency, and that will show you all the ads that they currently have running. For Google, you can go to the Google Ad Transparency Center and search for your competitors. For Amazon, search for books in your genre and note what books are coming up in the sponsored spots. BookBud is much the same, with ads appearing in the dedicated space on the website and in their newsletters. Once you see these ads, you need to take note of the visual style of the ads, the amount of the text, and what type of tone is being used in the text. Are they using a lot of text? Is it pretty short? What colors are they using for certain genres? All of that stuff is relevant. It's also very easy to find articles on BookBub's blog or in Facebook groups about how authors are utilizing ads, analysis of ad types, ad spend, and other critical data. Don't be afraid to search these sources out, as many authors are just really transparent and they kind of enjoy sharing these stats that to help others, or just to get support themselves in groups. So people sharing their experiences is actually going to be something you can pretty much find anywhere. So that's some advice on how to approach marketing again. But let me also give you some general advice on what I see currently working for many authors at this moment in time, which is January 2026. Facebook parties are a thing of the past. But I have seen more authors collaborating in similar ways by getting together on video platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube to have group chats about the books that they're releasing, the tropes of these books, the journey of writing the books, fun things like polls, Ask Me Anythings, or theme challenges, and just the experience of being an author. These live chats tend to gain a pretty good audience, and as long as you have your profiles optimized to capture these readers fairly quickly when they visit your website or your social media, then they could be pretty helpful in helping you grow your readership. Reader groups seem to be struggling a little bit, especially on Facebook. Facebook itself is pretty much dying, but small fan communities are doing much better on platforms like Patreon, Discord, and Instagram broadcast channels. I'm also seeing a lot more shared world projects going on, and those are being very successful both on crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter and just straight up indie publishing with a really tight release schedule and a really tight promo schedule. They all collab together. Everybody kind of, promotes everybody else's books. They do it as a set of, something in a shared world. These are all stories that are twisted fairy tales, or these are all stories that are in this fictional world, or what have you. There's a lot of ways that you can do a shared world. But these seem to be nudging the traditional anthology releases down the line a little bit. Direct sales are also continuing to pick up steam as more readers grow frustrated with Amazon, and more authors too. There are so many avenues to set up direct stores for your books, and even merch now. I've made a video on this that you can find on my YouTube channel, and I will probably make another one soon since there are so many more being developed. If you want to baby step your way into direct sales, it feels worth mentioning that both Story Origin and BookFunnel have the ability to sell ebooks directly now, so check those out. And of course, some things are evergreen, like in-person events and podcasts or video interviews. These seem to always work well. They expand not only your reader reach, but also your network of fellow authors and creators. If you're looking for video interviews, don't forget about the amazing resource that is Go Indie Now. I promise you'll have an amazing time, and you'll meet some potential lifelong friends. For in-person events, research them before you commit to attending to avoid a negative encounter. Ask other authors who have attended in the past about their experience, and look up videos and pictures of the past years for social proof of the sort of time that you're likely to have there. And of course, always evergreen are newsletters. They're still one of the top performing tools for authors, and sending out the right content in them regularly is an amazing way to stay connected, relevant, and to tap into more sales. Newsletters are also something that you own, so you're not beholden to the whims of a big corporation. You can take them anywhere. One last thing I'll mention that maybe I should have led with is to make sure that you're putting out the best version of your product, aka your book, that you can. That means a book with an on-genre, compelling cover, an optimized blurb, proper formatting and editing, and a competitive price for your genre. All the best marketing in the world cannot save a book that doesn't appeal to its intended audience. If your books do not cover these aspects, you should invest in improving them before spending any time or money on marketing. Okay, that's my marketing tip for January. I hope it helps some of you dive back into marketing or take a new approach. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about today's marketing tip or marketing in general. You could email me at info@fiction-atlas.com with your questions, or check me out on the websites that are listed below. I hope you have a lovely month, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks to CL Cannon for that awesome marketing tip. I feel much more anxiety ridden now. Thank you very much.
It was funny when CL mentioned the collaborative worlds back in the 80s. For you kids, there's, I think the most famous genre-related one, or at least the most famous I know, was like the Thieves World, right? Where all these fantasy and sword and sorcery authors all collaborated and wrote stories in the same world. And it was several, like a lot of books, right? And you had to be invited to it and things like that. But it's interesting to see how what is old has become new again.
Yeah. And that seems to be always the theme around these things, because we gravitate to what we remember working, right? And then we try it, and then because it hasn't been around for a little bit, oh, yeah, I remember when somebody did this, or somebody who has never done it before goes, oh, this is kind of cool kind of idea, right? And kind of, it always comes around in that respect. So this is the perfect tip for me, since I haven't marketed my book in years at this point. Yeah, I as someone who's getting back into it, I wanted to kind of get some advice, on how to do that. I think she gives some really great stuff there. I'm very fortunate that I have the video. I can watch it every day. but but now all of you can too, because you can always come back and watch it here, and I'll timestamp it so everybody can go and catch it so that they know where it is next time. If you have a burning question and you thought about how that video said something and you wanted to remember it, you can always go back to the timestamp and you can watch it again. All right, so. I know this is gonna bore a few of you in the audience. I am going to talk about film stuff here for a moment, because something very important has happened in the film world, and it does affect you if you're a cinephile, if you're somebody who frequently goes to streaming sites to watch independent films or watch films and try to discover films. There's a site called Film Hub out there. For those of you who don't know, some inside baseball, Film Hub is this company that came about that they're a tech-driven global distribution platform. And basically, they do marketing for independent filmmakers that connect to streaming services like Amazon Prime, Tubi. Tubi is a really big one, Roku channel, YouTube. Basically, what they do is they help you deliver, license, and absorb the payments and of the royalties and the how to get to they act as the middleman for independent films onto various ad supporting transactional channels, so you can monetize your property. It's a algorithm. They have a proprietary algorithm that suggests placements, automated much of their technical process, so they can encode the video for you so that you can put it on the site as the site would like it. They have a human sales team. They offer filmmakers a way to monetize their work without the traditional distribution hassles. And unfortunately, with all of that, they continue to gather partners in this endeavor, right? So there's a ton of great sites that are popping up that filmmakers can market themselves to, and Film Hub makes great big deals with these. So they're making $1 million deals with these folks to be able to do this for you. Well, they sent out a letter to all of all the people who are part of Film Hub, and they say, "Hi, Film client. We've defined our film and television distribution so that producers can benefit comprehensive worldwide all rights distribution with no upfront costs or long-term commitments, and leverage Film Hub's unique industry access and relationships by amplifying world technology. We remain committed to offering distribution with no upfront costs. We're launching new offerings to supercharge distribution." They have asked clients have expressed the need for greater control and personalized service. So they have Distribution Plus, Distribution Pro. And what this has done is it's significantly changed its pricing structure, and it shifted largely from a free model to paid tiers. So for filmmakers, these services that were once free, like title removal and quality control, are leading to frustration and debate within the indie film community. These increased costs for distribution control, according to users from late 2025. While Film Hub still offers revenue sharing, these new fees, alongside increased subscription costs for premium services, are changing the platform's proposition for filmmakers seeking non-exclusive distribution. New fees for core services, the paid subscription tiers, which before was costing the filmmakers less than $100, so they could put a part of their film budget. Now they're into their smallest tier is $2,000. So you can imagine how much that hurts a filmmaker, right? Their advanced features and costs to get what they were getting for free earlier are now going to add $2,500 to pretty much any filmmaker's budget, and they undermine. Filmmakers are feeling like these fees undermine Film Hub's original appeal as a low-cost, non-exclusive distributor. There's a perception that Film Hub is adding these charges for features that don't require substantial effort or cost from Film Hub's site, causing other user dissatisfaction. So basically, what this is saying is, what filmmakers are saying out there is that, we're putting up this cost, we're putting out quality product, and you are helping us, get to the point where we wanted to get. And I get Film Hub's intent here. I think what they're trying to do is because it's free. Any Yahoo who puts together a 90-minute piece of shit that's not that's not narrative based or anything other than a capturing tool for monetization, or has a delusionary idea that this is a film, that's what they're trying to prevent, because they're making these relationships with these customers, right? With Tubi and Tubi's trying to make a name for themselves. Roku channels trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to be legitimate services for legitimate artists, right? So I get that aspect of it. I understand why Film Hub is doing what they're doing, right? They're making it to a point where they think only serious people will indulge in what they're offering. And that's why the cost point went from, so low to so high, is they're trying to weed out the people who wouldn't pay that type of money to get their 90-minute opus about them smoking a cigarette onto TV, or their zombie movie that has zombies whose head fall off, right? Or their makeup smears, or it has boom shots in the shot, right? It doesn't take the quality control to take care of their films, right? And I say this as a filmmaker who has made pieces of shit like that before, so I speak from experience. But I get all that, but I think what is going on is twofold. I don't think we're policing our own in that respect, and we've got to be better about policing our own. I actually I'm kind of on the fence with this, to be honest with you. I kind of think this is Film Hub's way of policing good art, but and I think if you're a good filmmaker, you'll budget for this anyway. But it's going to take a substantial chunk of your budgeting, right? You can always go the traditional route and go to American Film Market and other places and try to get distribution that way. If your film is that good, you think it's that worthy, that you don't need to spend money to do that, other than to fly to Los Angeles and spend a day pitching your film to people, which doesn't cost you any money, just costs you time. I don't know why you're not doing that anyway. But if you just want to sit in the privacy of your own home you're an introvert and you don't want to do those things, and you want Film Hub to help, then budget yourself the extra $2,500 to make this happen for yourself. And if you're making a film that's under $2,500, and I get that, I understand. I as somebody who wants to make more films, I understand that the money isn't always there to have this luxury. But at the end of the day, there is Kickstarter, and you can do those things to get that money to do that. If you put out something where you can put out like a 5-minute teaser or something, or a 2-minute teaser, and get people interested, people will gravitate to want to find a place to see it, right? And so they'll help you try to get it out there. I'm just offering some solutions to this because Film Hub's not changing their mind. They're not in. Their relationships are with the distribution companies. The filmmakers are the content that they're selling to the distribution companies, but companies like A24 and smaller mid-level companies can afford this kind of thing. And they probably have their own built-in distribution. They don't have to worry about it. But some of them don't. I know that because I've dealt with a mid-tier production company, and they use Film Hub and Bitwire and all these other places to get their films put out there, so that they can get them out there quickly and fast and have them easily accessed for people like me who review those films, right, and do those things. So I think that all being said is we have to weigh in the good with the bad sometimes. And, I understand where filmmakers are coming from. I do. And I understand where Film Hub is coming from. Maybe if Film Hub added a tier in between, and this is something that, we've been through, as a company, as a network. We've everybody who's been involved as a producer here, we have had this conversation because StreamYard upped their ante on us this year. And we had this discussion about, and I looked at alternative platforms, I looked at other things, and they just don't do what StreamYard does. StreamYard does a lot of good things. And I think for what I've weighed in is the money is worth it, because I think what we get out of that production wise is worth it. And so that's where I'm at. And nobody else does what StreamYard can do for me. And I'm so comfortable with using StreamYard. And I think I'm becoming pretty good at it. So
Right.
I think, why would I, yes, I am spending more money, but at the end of the day, we're getting the quality product that we want out there, right? And that's the kind of thing that we have to, it's all about that. It's all about measuring tools. And I think that's important to note. So.
And people should remember too, and I understand, right? If 25 might be your whole budget, $2,500 would be an entire, like if you were going to get a cover and have someone edit it and some marketing, that 2,500 might be an independent author's entire budget.
Yeah.
But just like we have to, books now that might have cost $7 or $8 15 years ago, now $15, and that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Production costs are up. To do all the things that CL Ken was talking about, to stay competitive in your genre, to be noticed as an indie, does require more output. And so if you're trying to even if you're just trying to recover your costs,
Yeah.
it requires us to charge more for our books, right?
Yeah.
And so I totally see what Film Hub is doing here. I agree with you. Maybe there should have been a $1,250 low tier.
Yeah.
But and I had a question
Maybe
for
like
you
where
though.
they just send you to one spot, right? Maybe they give you the Tubi version where you can just do Tubi, or something
Yes.
to that effect, right?
So, but I had a question for you, because obviously people who make movies much more than I do. When you had mentioned that Film Hub's trying to weed out the people who aren't serious,
Mm-hmm.
what percentage of people who aren't serious are people who aren't serious but have the money? That was my biggest question when you mentioned that. It's like, yeah, I know a lot
Well,
of.
the thing
I
was
don't say
that
I
Film Hub
know.
was free for a long time. They were
Right,
offering the
right,
services that I'm talking about for free. So they
right.
were essentially doing this for no money. They had little add-ons that you could add on for like $90 and $100 in this thing. But what the services that they are now putting within the paid tiers were free services. So anybody could basically put their movie on Tubi. So
Right. Yeah. But I'm
as you've
saying is,
probably gone through Tubi and
yeah,
noticed, there's probably about 300 movies that nobody would ever, well, there's a marketplace for everything, right? But what I mean.
I do.
Movies that I would never watch, right? Personally, but yeah. That's taste. That has nothing to do with the filmmakers themselves. There might be some really good, well-made films in that mix, and I've learned over the years that you can never judge a book by its cover in that respect. But there's also some really trash out there, and there's some things that are just trying to be monetized, right? It's the same
Right.
thing that books have gone through for generations, right? The republishing of books to get the page reads and all those things. It's the same in the film world. People who spend as little as possible to make a movie that they think in their own mind is really good, and it's really not. And so they don't want to spend any money to do it. This really stems from the idea that we're becoming a world that's isolated by this screen. We're not, that people don't want to go out and do the legwork because it's hard. It's very difficult. It's not, and as somebody who's an extrovert, it's very difficult for me to go out there and talk to 400 people in a day. I get wiped out by that because you don't know what the motivation of that person on the other end you're talking to is looking for. You don't know the magic word that's going to get them to say, yes, I'd like to see your movie, or yes, I'd like to see your screenplay. it's all different, and it's all different criteria and different things, and that's why you have to pitch to so many people to get that idea, right?
Yeah.
And it's daunting, and it's very draining, and for someone like me who could do it for a day, it is still very draining. I can't imagine what it would be like for somebody who has anxiety and can't do that in front of public people. I get all that, but putting your movie out on Tubi, it's just like how many people publish a book and you've never known they published a book, right? Because they don't market themselves, they don't put themselves out there, right? So what are you spending money on? Because you have to spend money to get people to see what you're doing. So that's the question that I have. If that $2,500 was going to a Facebook marketing campaign, yeah, I get why you'd be upset about Film Hub taking that money from you. I get that, right? But if that money is just not there and you're not utilizing the opportunity that gives you, that's on you. It's really on you.
Yes.
You don't want people to see your film. You made a film and you don't want people to see it. I don't know anybody who would be like that, but I imagine there's hundreds of films I've never heard of, that I hear about every day from critics and searching through Tubi, and all the other sites, that the 500,000 other sites that I'm on looking for movies, right? So,
right.
And I have to scrape to the 14th or 15th page of those defined movies that are interesting enough to watch, right? So,
yep.
So that's how it goes, right? So, all right. Well, on Wednesday night, the man to my left, your right, is going to be live once again to do his show Zero Means You're Dead on Wednesday night, and along those lines, he has an interview with the one and only Christopher Hilton, and we thought we'd give you a little taste of that tonight, and then you'll see a little bit more of a taste of it on Wednesday night. And Sean, do you want to add anything to that, or should I just go right to the video?
No, we actually, Chris and I actually talked for a long time. What you're going to see here and then what you're going to see Wednesday night is just a small amount of the actual full interview. But also, I also talked to Jessica Nettles, as you can see on the thing. So there'll be 2 interviews, which is what we're hoping for moving forward with Zero. We'll try to interview 2 people and bring those to you. But Christopher, I've known Christopher for a few years now, since about 2017, when he was an editor at EN World and hired me on to write freelance articles for EN World, which I did for up until about 2022. So that was a it's one of the reasons I'm here. And having that experience helped me, overcome some of my own anxieties to try different things and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a great interview. It was great talking to Christopher, and I think you'll enjoy the interview.
All right, here's a little taste.
And here we are. I'm S.M. Hillman. I'm very happy today to be interviewing someone I've known for a few years, a friend of mine, Chris Helton. Chris, say hello to the folks. Oh,
hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Christopher, go ahead and tell folks a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Well, I'm a longtime blogger and gaming journalist. I started my blog back in the early 2000s and wrote about the blog named Dorkland, and wrote about a number of different things that were interesting to me, primarily gaming, but I also talked about like comics and music and things. And that kind of blossomed into writing for a couple of major websites. I've written for Bleeding Cool and N-World, and then that kind of blossomed into editing in general, and for a number of publishers and writing, and bam, here we are. I mean, but in like the late 70s and early 80s, I understand games not being good about presenting themselves to new people, even though ironically we were all new people at that
Yes.
point.
That's true.
You know, people were still trying to figure out how in the world to write these things. But by the time of 5th edition of the world's greatest role-playing game,
Right.
we should know better how to present the material to new people. And that has that has, to kind of like bring it into me, that idea has sort of approached how I have designed games. And have you, I mean, you've looked at Action Heroes, right?
Yes, I have.
At some point.
Yep.
I mean, I try really hard to explain to people how things are going to work. It's like my games, I write in a fairly conversational tone.
Yes. That's right.
And I mean, that is intentional.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that it wasn't well, I'm going to write this in a different way than those games. It was that I wanted to, like I said, I think it's important that the games be able to present themselves to new players. And I think if you write your game on the level that you're talking to somebody, talking with someone rather than talking to someone,
Yep,
is an important difference to make.
okay. Agreed. Yep.
So
I know I enjoy reading games that are in that kind of conversational tone, as opposed to the dry wall of text that you get with a lot of big box games. So
yeah, I mean, my thing is I have a literature background. I mean, obviously, you know, I studied literature. I was always a big reader, and I read a lot of things that weren't necessarily fantasy.
yep.
So I have, you know, I have that liberal arts background that, well, a lot of RPGs are still in that this is a tech manual kind of approach. And it's like, you know, and it goes back to the, you know, the assumption that there's going to be an experienced person teaching the game to everyone. It's, you know, it promotes the idea of authority in, you know, the game text.
Right.
And, you know, the game text is the authority, the expert in the game text is the authority, and this is the way we play the game.
Right.
Whereas, you know, like we were talking about earlier, and how games tend to get customized for the individual table, you know, I want to present something that people can look at and go, okay, I understand this. This, you know, this is where we're starting. Now go. So, and that's how I present my games. And it's funny because my games keep getting smaller because of that. You know, Action Heroes is like, I think 200 and some pages. I mean, it's a small book. It's like, you know, it's like a 6x9 book. If it was like a, you know, a letter-sized paper book, it would probably be like 150 pages.
Right.
It would probably look like, you know, the old Player's Handbook.
Yeah.
But, you know, my Adventures in the Unknown is like 92 pages. And it's a half letter page.
Right.
So, I mean, the game that inspired me was not a big game. And, you know, I felt that what I needed to do was explain the basics of the game. This is what you need. This is how you play this game. This is, you know, where you should take it. Okay, now go.
So there you go, everybody. On Wednesday night, you'll be able to see a lot more of that, and Jessica, and get a little villain monologue from the man sitting next to me. And before we go, too, we wanted to also mention Hit the Dice is doing a weekly adventure, and this is the little teaser for that, which will begin on Tuesday. What is that? January 13th.
13th. Yep.
Tuesday, January 13th begins the multi-board. Well, not the 6th, it's the 13th, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's happening next week as well. We also have This Week in Indies coming up on Sunday. We're rocking and rolling. We're back in full swing, and we are just going to rock through this entire winter with a wonderful, wonderful groove. Thank you all for being here to join us. Dennis mentioned that getting to notice us in indie is hard. And so close, I've noticed that social media can help, but it's hit or miss. If someone popular takes up your cause, you win.
Yep.
And then Vanessa wants me to stop with the spiders. Never. But we are going to stop with this episode of Late Night News. But, you know, we're always around. And why, Sean?
Because it's always time to go indie now.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you again soon.